State University Bakersfield has opened up their campus as a vaccination site, in case you didn't know. The clinic is open 7 days a week, appointments 9 a.m. to 5:30. All ages are welcome to come receive their vaccine if extra doses are left over at the end of the day. CSUB just one of many sites that have opened up in the past week to vaccinate residents. The site has the capacity, officials say, to administer 38,000 shots a week. At full capacity, they say their efforts can be far-reaching.
If we put together those 38,000 vaccinations per week with all the other efforts that are going on in Kern County, we believe we can vaccinate everybody in Kern County that wants to be vaccinated in the next 90 days, and we can put an end to this pandemic.
Beginning Thursday, any Californian 50 to 64 will be eligible to receive the vaccine, and on April 15th, anyone over 16 years of age will be eligible. If you'd like to schedule an appointment to get vaccinated, go to the website myturn.ca.gov. A little sticky situation here for Krispy Kreme. The donut maker is getting criticized for offering a free donut for anyone who gets the vaccine. Some critics say it's not really healthy, while the company head of the company, speaking to Yahoo, said if folks don't want to come, they don't have to.
And in other health news, it seems that the pandemic may have stalled efforts to get Americans to stop smoking. There were fewer calls made to quit smoking hotlines this past year. Reports say that some people are actually smoking more, and there was an unusual bump in cigarette sales. According to experts, unemployment, delayed medical care, and fewer anti-smoking announcements likely also played a role. But the CDC says that it's too early to gauge the pandemic's impact on smoking rates. Well, 23 ABC has been dedicating every Wednesday this past month to celebrating and reflecting on the contributions of women in history. This Wednesday will be our final story, so make sure that you tune in right here to 23 ABC News later this week for Women Wednesday. Coming up next on 23 ABC News, find out how you can support our local Children's Miracle Network with a short stack. That and more coming up. Stay with us. A day that many look forward to is now a month-long event. Here to talk about how IHOP's National Pancake Day has turned into a month of free short stacks and the cause it's in support of is Children's Miracle Network Program Director Robin Woodward. Robin, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So walk me through the change that we're seeing this year from one day to a month-long event.
Yes, like you mentioned, it's normally happens on one day, and we usually raise between $10,000 and $12,000 in that day. And those funds are so vital to the work that we're doing at the hospital. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But now we are able to do Pancake Day for an entire month this year. And the way that it works is our viewers need to go to register for MyHop on ihop.com or the IHOP app for your mobile devices.
Okay, now you touched on it a little bit there, the cause. Tell me where this money that will be raised is going towards.
So every single dollar raised will stay local, 100%. So the wonderful thing is that we're helping local kids get the care that they need. Kids, maybe babies that are born early, like a baby that would wear this tiny diaper that's a pound or less. And, you know, we're helping anything from a premature baby to a child that maybe has a broken leg. And we're making sure that people's children, their grandchildren, nieces and nephews, whatever it may be, that they have access to the care that they need right here in Kern County at Bakersfield Memorial Hospital.
You know, the pandemic has impacted so many things this past year. Is the need greater for donations this year?
Absolutely. Like you mentioned, the pandemic has had a tremendous impact in our fundraising efforts. And so more than ever, we need the community to come together and help us. So these are pancakes with a purpose. And so you can enjoy your free short stack and you can donate while you're there in the month of April when you redeem your IOU that you get from registering on MyHop, or you can donate now. Maybe you don't love pancakes as much as I do. So you can just donate by texting IHOP to 51555.
That's a good point. Not everyone loves pancakes. I must say, though, looking at this video, we're showing video of people eating in an IHOP. They look incredible. Now, talk to me a little bit about, we touched on the fact that it's changed from a day to a month, but we didn't really get to the reason why the change came about.
So IHOP's main concern is the safety of their guests as well as their staff. And so rather than cramming a bunch of people into one place in one day, because we literally get thousands of people that come out in droves in Kern County to enjoy pancakes on one day. And so they decided it would be safer for everyone to extend it where you could get your IOU by registering for MyHop on IHOP.com or the app. And you can literally redeem your IOU anytime during the month of April. So that way we keep the crowds down and things like that for everyone's safety.
Yeah, that's so key at this point in time. Was there ever any doubt, obviously here in Kern County, we just recently moved into a tier where restaurants are able to open with limited capacity. Was there ever any concern that, this event maybe was going to have to be pushed back?
Honestly, yes. I thought that we were going to have to postpone until the fall. And so fortunately, the stars are aligning, so to speak, so that we can still move forward. We would have been able to do, takeout, and they still will do takeout if you don't feel comfortable coming in to dine in the restaurant. So just keep that in mind that you can do takeout. But that's probably what we would have done if we weren't postponing it. We would have just done takeout.
Well, fortunately, you guys can move forward with the event. Such a great cause. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Again, thank you for having me and allowing me to share a little piece of what it is that we do at the hospital to help local children.
Okay, time to bring in Bain Froney with a check of the forecast. And Bain, I have to say this weekend, it's almost like someone flipped a switch. Like it went from cooler to
I know, it was to hot, 80-degree temperatures, sunny skies, and that's going to continue all throughout this week as well. We're going to be seeing those temperatures in those 80s, but right now we're about 55 degrees in Bakersfield. We're going to be warming up to those 60s around 9 a.m. We're going to be in those 70s by our lunch hour, and then we're going to be hitting our 80s by around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and we're going to be hitting our high around at 5 o'clock. And it's going to be sunny skies all day long throughout the entire county as well. We're going to be seeing temperatures in those 80s throughout the valley as well, about 80 in Lamont. We're going to be seeing 80 in Oildale, McFarland, Delano. We're also going to be seeing 80 over in Wasco. Now, we're also going to be seeing 78 in Taft. In our mountain communities, they're going to be in those 60s and 70s today, about 65 in Fraser Park. We're going to be seeing about 65 as well in Tehachapi, 72, Lake Isabella, and 75 over in Kernville. Now, in our desert communities, they're going to be in those 80s for the most part today, about 85 in Ridgecrest, 81 over in California City, 76 in Mojave, as well as over in Lancaster. Now, we are going to be seeing some pretty gusty winds later today as well, especially in our deserts and our mountain communities. It's also going to be impacting our valley area as well, giving us some of those breezes. It's going to be continuing for the next couple of days. We're going to be seeing that once again on Tuesday, but then by Wednesday, we are expecting those winds to die down quite a bit. Taking a look at the rest of the week, we'll be seeing 86 degrees on Wednesday. We're going to be seeing those temperatures increasing in those 80-degree temps, about 88 on Thursday and also on Friday. But then come the weekend, we are expecting those temperatures to take a little bit of a dip, going to those more seasonal averages, about 76 on Sunday with sunny skies throughout the entire week. Now, for our mountain communities, we are expecting to be in those 70s and 60s for the most part, about 74 in Kern River Valley as a high for today, as well as for tomorrow in Tehachapi and Fraser Park in those low to mid 60s, but they could be hitting those 70s by Thursday. We're expecting to be seeing 70-degree temperatures on Thursday and Friday, and also those 80s in Kern River Valley on Thursday and Friday. But come next weekend, we are expecting to be back into those lower 60s for our Tehachapi and Fraser Park, and in those low 70s in Kern River Valley.
All right, very good. Still to come, the race is on as more states begin to open up eligibility for the vaccine. Coming up after the break, how adults in the Lone Star State can start lining up to get their shot. Plus, the Miami Heat welcoming fans back to the arena with some stipulations. We've got details on the restrictions and the guidelines straight ahead at 6:19 on this Monday. You're watching 23 ABC.
Hundreds of people are facing charges for crimes related to federal COVID relief programs. The Justice Department announced the charges on Friday. 474 people are accused of breaking the law after investigators identified more than $500 million was stolen from relief programs. So far, DOJ prosecutors have charged 120 people who they say targeted the Paycheck Protection Program. Prosecutors have also charged more than 140 people for unemployment insurance fraud since the start of the pandemic. Justice officials are bracing for another wave in attempted fraud cases with the rollout of the $1.9 trillion COVID relief plan. Today, more states are expanding who's eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine, and a COVID outbreak at a Nebraska daycare is highlighting the risk posed by the UK variant. ABC's Andrew Dimbert has the latest developments in the fight against the coronavirus.
This morning, more Americans are becoming eligible for the COVID vaccine. In Texas, all adults can get the shot beginning today, and in Florida, anyone 40 and older is now eligible.
So we're anticipating a rush. We're ready for it, but the best thing to do is plan ahead and come prepared.
Despite higher vaccination rates, COVID infections are on the rise in nearly half the country. 1 year after becoming the epicenter of the pandemic, New York and New Jersey once again have the highest infection rates. The uptick blamed on a perfect storm of relaxed restrictions, a surge in travel, and the spread of the more contagious variants of the virus, including that UK variant.
We have to understand that there is a higher amount of population density in certain cities, alongside the fact that we do have some homegrown variants, such as in New York, which could be contributing to this as well. There's also the fact that in places like Texas and Florida, there may be something to do with more outdoor spaces. And also one thing to keep in mind with those spring breakers, they will travel back to where they came.
In Omaha, Nebraska, a daycare voluntarily closed after more than 100 cases were traced back to the facility, a significant number believed to be the UK variant.
What do you do then with all of these children who have now tested positive and could potentially deal with the ramifications of this for weeks, months on end?
Andrew Dimbert, ABC News, New York.
Today, England is scheduled to lift its stay-at-home order as it tries to come out of a national lockdown that began January 4th. The Prime Minister says the country must, quote, remain cautious due to the current rise in cases. Rather than being required to stay home, residents in the UK now being asked to remain local. The lift in restrictions means that 6 people or 2 households can gather outside, and organized outdoor sports can also resume for all ages. Most businesses will remain shut down until the next level of restrictions are eased. That's expected to happen, we're told, no earlier than April 12th. Meantime, a study to try to determine the source of the coronavirus does not provide a definitive answer. The study by the World Health Organization and China found the transmission of the virus from bats to humans through another animal was the most likely scenario. That's according to a draft of a report obtained by the Associated Press. The investigative team also concluded transmission through a second animal was likely to very likely, while spreading through actual food products was, quote, possible but not likely. The official report's expected to be released in the next few days. Beginning this week, the Miami Heat will be offering vaccinated fans their own section at home games. The Heat will have 2 sections to accommodate 450 fully vaccinated fans. Now, they must verify their status by showing their COVID vaccination card along with a picture ID. The final shot must be received at least 2 weeks prior to the game. The vaccination sections will still separate groups by 1 seat, and masks are still required. Other teams are expected to create similar accommodations for vaccinated fans.
Well, there's still much more to come in our next half hour. Coming up next, the California High-Speed Rail Authority is making headlines once again. A local congressman is speaking out against the project. And finding a job has proved difficult during the pandemic. What you need to know from JobFest Kern County to help you get back on track.
Live from downtown Bakersfield, 23 ABC News starts now.
A local politician is railing against a project years in the making. We'll have details on a demolition scheduled for today.
Plus, a restaurant boom in Tehachapi leads to, you guessed it, more jobs. Details on what's available.
And paying tribute to local Vietnam veterans, a ceremony is being held today to honor those who served the country.
And a good morning to you. Thank you for staying with 23 ABC News at 6:30 on air and across our streaming platforms. I'm Mike Hart.
And I'm Brenna Rose. And Chief Meteorologist Elena Rusk, she's off today. So we have the lovely Bane Froney filling in. Bane, how's it looking out there?
It's going to be so nice. What a day to take off, seriously. It's going to be in those 80s, sunny skies as well. We're going to be seeing a little bit of those wind speeds in our mountain and our desert communities later today. But right now, we're seeing about 55 degrees here in Bakersfield throughout the county. It's a little bit of a cooler morning in those 40s in the valley area. For the most part, we're seeing 49 in McFarland and also 47 in Delano. In our mountain communities, in those 40s and 50s this morning, about 48 in Tehachapi and 50 up in Kernville. In our desert communities, they're in those 40s and 50s. About 46 in California City and 59 over in Ridgecrest, but we are expecting those temperatures to go back up later today in Bakersfield. We're going to be hitting those 60s by around 9 or 10 a.m. and by our lunch hour, we're going to be in those 70s, and then we're going to be hitting our high in those 80s by about 3 or 4 p.m. later today. We're going to be seeing sunny skies all throughout the county, and it's going to be impacting all of our temperatures. Everybody's going to be feeling pretty warm today. We're going to be in those 80s for the most part in the valley area, about 80 as a high in McFarland and up in Delano, and 78 over in Taft. In our mountain communities, they're going to be in those 60s and 70s today, about 65 in Tehachapi, 74 in Lake Isabella. In our desert communities, they'll be in those 70s and 80s as well, about 81 in California City as a high, 85 in Ridgecrest, and 84 up in China Lake.
All right, Bane, thank you. We have new details this morning on that deadly crash on Weed Patch Highway. The CHP is now saying the driver of a pickup truck who was killed was not wearing a seatbelt. According to the CHP, the driver was at the intersection of Weed Patch Highway and East Wilson Road when a big rig was headed north on Weed Patch. The CHP says the 78-year-old driver of the pickup pulled out in front of it, leading to a collision. That impact then led the big rig into an oncoming SUV. The CHP says the 78-year-old man was not wearing a seatbelt and was ejected. He was pronounced dead at the scene. A 29-year-old woman and a 5-year-old boy in the SUV suffered major injuries, and their conditions currently are not known. Also, we have 2 shootings from overnight being investigated. Bakersfield police say 2 men were shot and wounded on East California Avenue near Baker Street about 9:30 last night. They were taken to the hospital and are expected to recover. Meantime, sheriff's officials say another man was shot on Harrison Drive near Manor Street at about 11:30 last night. The victim was taken to the hospital where he reportedly died from his injuries. These investigations are ongoing. If you know anything about them, you're encouraged to contact BPD and KCSO. In other news, the California High-Speed Rail Authority will begin the demolition of the Amtrak building in Wasco. That demolition expected to last for about a week, and during that period, the public will still have access to the Amtrak platform and the parking lot. The work is part of the construction for a 22-mile stretch of the high-speed rail, a project that Representative David Valadao has been vocal about on social media, posting these pictures of his visit to what he said is old farm labor housing in Wasco, a spot the project caused to be cleared out. Valadao stating, quote, "The project has demonstrated itself to be a waste of taxpayers' hard-earned money," unquote. He continued to say the project's behind schedule, over budget, and will not deliver on promises that it made to voters.
Today, Vietnam veterans living here in Kern County will be honored on this Vietnam Veterans Welcome Home and Remembrance Day. The ceremony will be held at the Portrait of a Warrior Gallery. It gets underway at 9 a.m. and during the celebrations, Senator Shannon Grove will present a Purple Heart to a local fallen veterans family who's traveled all the way from Arizona just for the ceremony today. Many Kern County residents have struggled to find consistent work during the pandemic. People are having to think outside the box, and that could also include outside of Bakersfield. 23 ABC's Kristen Vartan is live with more on the recent restaurant boom in Tehachapi and the positions that come with it. Kristen?
Good morning, Brenna. Yeah, Tehachapi is known to be a travel destination over the weekend for many people that live in Bakersfield. Well, now it's not just a place to escape to, it's also a place to work. And why? Because there's a ton of jobs available right now.
Funny, it's almost opposite right now. We have a lot of people commuting up from Bakersfield or in the other areas, California City, Mojave, to come into Tehachapi.
The city of Tehachapi's public information officer, Key Budge, calls it a piece of Americana in the middle of Kern County. And for some in the restaurant business, it's become the setting for their American dream, even during a pandemic.
We had 6 restaurants open last year in the midst of a pandemic, which was crazy, and 5 of them were independently owned. They weren't corporate.
And a restaurant boom leads to, you guessed it, more jobs. The city of Tehachapi's economic development coordinator, Corey Costello, saying there's about 50 to 100 restaurant jobs available in the greater Tehachapi area right now. He adds the pay is above minimum wage at certain local Tehachapi restaurants.
Because they wanted quality and they understood that. And so for them, they said, we're going to pay a little more, a few more dollars an hour for an employee because we have a certain level of quality we expect out of our food and of our team. And so they're willing to pay a little bit more. And honestly, as a consumer, I'm willing to pay a little bit more when I go there because I know what they're paying the workers.
And even if you're starting an entry-level restaurant job, you never know where opportunities may lead.
We've actually had some pretty good success stories of employees that have eventually purchased the restaurant that they worked in. Johnny's Take and Bake Pizza is a great example. It's a long-standing business. It's been here since the 1990s, but about 4 years ago, it was purchased by some employees because the owner was retiring.
Plus, Costello says in a small community like Tehachapi, you may have an easier time opening a restaurant of your own someday. He says you'll still have to deal with the usual connection fees, impact fees when building from the ground up, but
if you're going to open a business, you can call me directly. You can call our engineer and development services director directly. You don't have 6 layers, 7 layers of bureaucracy before you get to somebody who can answer your question and help you kind of hold your hand through the process.
You can head to the city's social media pages as well as the Kern County website for jobs that are posted, or you can go the old-fashioned way, as Costello says, and just drive around town, see those help wanted signs. If that's not a Tehachapi thing, I really don't know what is.
Love it. And I understand there's a lot of opportunity in Tehachapi. More industries are actually hiring as well.
Yeah, Brenna, tons of jobs are available in the greater Tehachapi area, such as renewable energy jobs, aerospace jobs, and even the police department is hiring. So people can check those resources or drive around, have a day trip out of it. There's tons of stuff to look at.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kristen.
The unemployment rate went up during the pandemic. Going in depth into the job market this morning to see what's available right now. According to the Employment Development Department, last month's unemployment rate in Kern County sat at about 10.8, unchanged since January. Now, this time a year ago, it was 9.1, just as we were beginning the pandemic. Now, we understand getting a job at a time of Zoom calls and being stuck at home can be difficult. So we wanted to share some tips with you on how to help out in the search. JobFest Kern wants to help you get employed. They've got job search tips and other opportunities available on their website. One right now, an animal control officer at Kern County Animal Services. Arvin Union School District's looking to fill multiple positions like school nurse, director of maintenance and operations. And Amazon is hosting a live Q&A with JobFest tomorrow to talk about their openings. To get information regarding the postings, job requirements, and hiring deadlines, go to JobFest Kern County on Facebook or the county's Human Resources page at kcdhs.org. Meantime, both Bakersfield law enforcement agencies are hiring online. The Kern County Sheriff's Office is hosting a Facebook Live event so you can learn more about being a detentions deputy. KCSO also offering a $10,000 bonus, a hiring bonus for that job. The online event is Thursday at 4:30 on the KCSO Facebook page. We've also posted a link to the application on our website, turnto23.com.
And the Bakersfield Police Department is also holding a live Q&A tomorrow about what it takes to be a digital forensic examiner. The Facebook Live will be at 9 a.m. and there's more information on the Human Resources page at bakersfieldcity.us. Applications have to be in by April 6th. Starting today, Amazon workers can call a hotline to voice complaints about working conditions. It comes as the company faces pushback from employees. A union spokesperson says workers have timed toilet breaks, unrealistic production targets, and a high number of on-the-job injuries. The trade union Unite says employees need a place to speak about the price they pay as a, quote, consequence of Amazon's drive for profit, end quote. Amazon is defending its business practices, saying it offers excellent pay and benefits, as well as opportunities for career growth. And coming up next on 23 ABC News JobFest, Kern will join us live to talk about what to ask during those virtual question and answer sessions with a potential employer. You're watching 23 ABC News. Welcome back. We've got some breaking news just into our newsroom. The international effort to free that container ship, Evergreen, that was stuck in the Suez Canal. Well, it's been successful. The ship is finally on its way. According to AP, crews had to refloat the canal and use tugboats to push and pull while the full moon's tides raised the water. Now, crews from around the globe have been working around the clock for nearly a week to help and free that ship.
All right, we have been talking about upcoming virtual Q&A sessions with potential employers, and here to talk about how to make sure you're as prepared as you can be is JobFest Kern's Josh Connor. Josh, good morning.
Good morning.
What is the one big thing that people overlook when they go into these live virtual Q&As?
I would say there's actually two things. Okay. One is not asking questions, and then two is whether or not you should be on camera, if possible. You know, if it's a Zoom meeting or something, if you should be on camera while you're watching these Q&A sessions.
Really? What would be the advantage to being on camera versus having it shut off?
To me, I mean, depending on the size, I mean, if there's thousands of people there, this might not be, relevant. But if there's 50 people there and you're one of 20 people on camera and you're asking a lot of questions, if that employer can pull you aside, then they may. But if not, you might be remembered in the future like, oh, that was that one person, was dressed nicely, was asking all these questions. Anything that we can do to stand out in this pool of candidates, we have to do it. So being on camera, dressed professionally, ready to come to work right then. Can you be at my office in an hour? Absolutely, I can be there, and you're already ready to go.
You think part of that, as far as like you just mentioned, sort of like the dress for success kind of a thing, just comes from the fact that we've been stuck in this virtual world for so long that people are like, well, I got pajama bottoms on and some fuzzy slippers.
Yeah, it's crazy because, I'm usually in a suit every day. I haven't wore a suit. I think I wore a suit 3 days in a year. You know what I mean? So I'm not used to not doing that. But again, it helps yourself too. When you see yourself on camera, you're going to look at yourself and say, wow, I look good. So you're going to feel good, and you're going to portray that energy to that employer. So we have to make sure that we dress right.
And the other thing that you kind of touched on there was asking questions. And I wanted to ask you about that. How often do people go into these types of sessions with nothing to say?
I've personally done it before. And Then right when that session ends, I'm like, oh, I had this question, so this is your time again to ask about the hiring process. So when it's been a week and you haven't heard from that employer, that it takes about 2 weeks, to get this application ran through the system. Or what's a typical day like? Find out what you're going to do, what you're going to be doing, because then that's going to open up the door again to what you could say, well,